Shalom family. So our beloved brother Tracy Tram released an article on his website, Season of Our Return, of his return, on Hosana Rabba and the Rapture. It's the last great day of Tabernacles, and I thought I'd take you guys through it for those who do not have Facebook, like myself, and don't know how to get to his website. I would still advise you to go check it out. Google search TW Tram and go check out all his articles. They are really encouraging and uplifting, and he does a lot of work on them. So that being said, let's dive into this latest article of TW Tram. The final climatic day of Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, called Hosana Rabba, begins October 13th this year, today. Like the other 4 holy days, Hosana Rabba has themes that point to the rapture. The great deliverance. The Jewish phrase Hosana Rabba means great deliverance or great rescue. So before I carry on, we should be running around at this point of the day going, Hosana Rabba, Hosana Rabba, because we're waiting for our great rescue, our great deliverance. We should greet each other like that, I think. We should make that a thing. The rapture is the great deliverance or rescue from God's judgment. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 9, Revelation 3:10, Luke 21 verse 36. The last day. Hosana Rabba is the last day of the last festival. Leviticus 23 verse 41. Jesus said he will raise his followers up at the last day. John 6 verse 40, 44 and 54. Now before I carry on with his work here, this is why Tabernacles has always been a high watch time if you are placing the rapture on a feast day. Again, I believe in imminence. He doesn't have to put it on a feast day. But if you were, Tabernacles would be really solid for a watch time because it is the last feast, the last trumpet, the last everything. Judgment delivered. Jews traditionally consider Hosana Rabba the final day of judgment, when the heavenly verdict decreed on the Feast of Trumpets and sealed on the Day of Atonement is delivered. The rapture judgment could thus be delivered on Hosana Rabba. Come to me. The last day of Tabernacles, or Hosana Rabba, is when Jesus stood up at the temple and shouted to the crowds, "Come to me." John 7 verse 37. If only people would listen. The rapture is when Jesus says, "Come up here." Revelations 4 verse 1, 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 16. The autumn rains. Hosana Rabba marks the climax of the traditional water libation ritual in which water was collected from the Siloam spring and poured out before the temple altar. The water pouring ceremony was considered a petition to God to send the autumn rains, vital for the coming year's crops. Jesus comes like the autumn rains. If anyone thirsts, right? Jericho parallel. During each of the first 6 days of Tabernacles, the temple priests would ceremoniously make one circuit around the altar with palm branches. On the 7th day, Hosana Rabba, the priests would make 7 circuits around the altar while the people recited the messianic psalm, "Save us now, Lord." Psalm 118, verse 25. The 7 circuits around the altar recall the 7 circuits around Jericho when a trumpet blast and a shout announced the collapse of the walls, and the people went straight up into the city. A picture of the rapture. Joshua 6. 70 denotes redemption. Hosana Rabba is when the final 70th bull is sacrificed during the week of Tabernacles. Numbers 29 verse 12 to 39. The number 70 denotes liberation or redemption, evoking the rapture redemption, Jeremiah 29:10 and Daniel 9:24. With the Hosana Rabba rapture parallels in view, here are even more themed signs or coincidences. Columbus and the new promised land. Some scholars believe America's discoverer, Christopher Columbus, was of Jewish descent, and his voyage was in part a quest to find a new promised land at a time when the Jews were being expelled from Spain. Since entering the promised land is a type or shadow of the rapture, it's interesting that Columbus first sighted the Americas and went ashore on the final day of Tabernacles, Hosana Rabba. What's more, Columbus' journey to the new promised land lasted exactly 70 days, the number of redemption, Daniel 9:24. Interesting how these coincidences work out. Coincidentally, Columbus Day in 2025 coincides with Hosana Rabba, as in 1492. The wedding sign. Since God uses the heavens to speak or telegraph his plans, Psalm 19, it is interesting that on this year's Hosana Rabba, the moon and Jupiter pair up in Gemini. The picture of the moon and Jupiter in Gemini is significant because the moon symbolizes the church or the bride of Christ. Jupiter, the king planet, symbolizes King Jesus. The twin figures of Gemini symbolize the heavenly wedding at the rapture. And in his 1882 book, The Gospel in the Stars, Joseph Seiss explained, the twin figures of a man and woman depict the completed union with Jesus, which occurs when the sainted dead are raised and those who are his and still alive are caught up in incorruption to meet him in the heavenly places. Yeah, I cannot wait. The day after Hosana Rabba, October the 14th, the moon bride will enter Cancer, the sheepfold, that depicts the church's heavenly home or place of many mansions, where believers will dwell or tabernacle with the Lord after the rapture. Peace and security. Finally, Hosana Rabba is when the Gaza war began in 2023. 2 years later, a historic peace deal has been agreed to, ending Israel's deadliest conflict and paving the way for a dramatic expansion of the Abraham Accords that were introduced during the first Trump administration. Thus, defying all secular expectations, the last Trump administration appears to be ushering in a new era of peace and security in the Middle East. 1 Corinthians 15:52, at the last trump we shall all be changed. While they are saying peace and security, then sudden destruction will come upon them, like labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The date set for Trump to fly to Egypt today and declare peace is October the 13th, Hosana Rabba. Of course, only God knows the day of the rapture, but the declaration of peace on the last day is a sign that he is guiding events to a quick end. So keep watch. This is what I love about Tracy Tram. He gives you so much encouragement, puts so many coincidences and connections into it to show you how close we are and the time and the lateness of the hour. He does not pin a date and say, we are rapturing on that date, so help me. I'm 1,000,000,000% sure. He says, watch, watch. All these things are pointing to how close we are. We should be excited and looking up and know the hour we're living in. Watch. Keep watch. Encourage one another. Be excited. The Lord is coming for his bride sooner than anyone thinks. Thanks, Tracy. God bless you. And all of you, please go and check out his website if you don't have Facebook. Lots of encouragement there. Shalom.